The Susan Brender Show is a radio show online broadcasted on YouTube across the United States and globally. The show features guests who speak about health, spirituality, entertainment, and a host of subjects to enlighten people across the nation. Listen to the show that empowers women and men alike and highlights those who have made a difference. I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today, I'm so pleased to have Marc Hoberman back on my show. He did shows with me quite some time ago, but you know what's so interesting about Marc? He draws from over 30 years of teaching and camp experience to present fun, interactive, and effective workshops on classroom and camp management. He does speaking events, bringing motivational programs to schools. He is a corporate training person, from team building, performance evaluations, and the list goes on and on. But most importantly, he is the author of an award-winning group of books. Now, I am very happy that you're on the show today. You're going to be addressing the coronavirus pandemic, which is so important because our schools in many areas are closed. There's been such a chaotic situation going on with teaching and with the students. And Marc has so much experience. He can really talk about this. So, Marc, how has the coronavirus pandemic affected your education and speaking business?
Well, Susan, first of all, thanks so much for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope you're staying safe. So certainly a change of life to everyone. A lot of my business, tutoring anyway, the education has been online for a number of years anyway, so I was kind of ahead of the curve as far as online test prep and tutoring. So, but now, more than just my SAT and ACT prep and other subjects that my company offers, we're doing a lot of character education. I was doing character education in schools a lot this year and set to go and talk about overcoming adversity and anti-bullying. And now that is switched over to actually being online because schools now are scrambling for programs and things to do from online now that all the schools are closed. So it's affected my education and speaking business tremendously. But the online aspect, you know, I'm blessed in that I can still offer things and bring training and courses to people while they're at home.
You know, you're doing so much good for the schools and for the students because your program, your mentoring program, is really a success. I want our audience to understand what that involves when you do a mentoring program. What does it involve?
So mentoring is very important. First of all, you have to train and match the right people. So mentoring doesn't have to be an adult to a high school or middle school students. We have trained and have some people in high school and college who mentor people who are younger than they are. And we have found through peer mediation training that we've done in the schools for years that students react really well to their peers, and not just their peers who are the same grade, but oftentimes when they're a little older. So the mentoring really helps build a trust and build a camaraderie. And a lot of the people, we'll call them the mentees, really do trust their mentors and really open up to them and learn from them. And it's a very, very powerful thing because character education, you cannot have academic success without good character education. So I'm glad to see that the schools are using those programs and that the mentoring is being so helpful in bridging the gap between academic and social skills, because there's two very separate skills, but you really can't have success without both of them.
Do people know about your program, and how do they get to know about the program?
So people do know we're embarking on a much bigger campaign before all the craziness happened with COVID-19, obviously. But we send emails to schools a lot. You know, we do some podcasts, as you know, and it's on our website, but we're really trying to spread the word. And now I'm starting to partner with different people and corporations. It's in the works now, so I can't mention too many names. One is even a professional sports team. So we're trying to use their outreach so they can get the word out better too. I mean, social media is very important, but word of mouth beats any kind of advertising ever. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible. We can be anywhere and, help people who are in another country if need be.
Sure. Yeah, it's a very fortunate thing that we have the computer because the nature of what is going on today involves the computer, and without it, it would be a disaster. But let's talk a little bit about the message of your memoir and tell people a little bit about your book and in your speaking business, how does it affect it as well, and why did you decide to write the book?
Right. So I'll try to give the short version of that. That's a lot of questions in one, but they all do connect, actually. So I was diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 16 and a half after I was told on 3 weeks' notice that my family would be moving from Yonkers, New York to Florida. I did suffer a seizure behind the wheel of my 1977 almost new Mustang, and there was 2 years of depression followed by that. Very tough to be displaced from all my friends where I was brought up for many years in New York. And I was definitely clinically depressed. We never went and got that exact, diagnosis from a doctor. We kept it too close to the vest. I didn't tell anybody about it till I was about 54. Maybe 10 people knew till I was 54, and that's 36 or 7 years after I was first diagnosed. I started to write the book many years ago and then put it aside. Life got in the way. And then, lo and behold, my son, when he was 15, was diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And he started to get depressed. And I handled it very well. And my wife was wondering how I could be so unemotional and be so methodical about it. And then the light bulb went off, the teacher light bulb, and said, I was a teen when I was depressed. I was a teen when I had a diagnosis and adversity. So if I can help you, our son, and myself, it's time to finish this book and help others. Because the book is not about epilepsy. It's about overcoming adversity. My adversity just happened to be epilepsy.
Excuse me for interrupting, Mark, but you also mentioned depression and anxiety. And in this climate that we're dealing with the coronavirus, are students telling you or are their parents telling you that they're suffering from depression and anxiety? And if they are, is there a solution, or is there a way that you can influence them in ways that kind of gets rid of that?
Yeah, so I will tell you, not to be funny, so the anxiety went in this order. The parents got the anxiety first because when it originally happened, kids dealt with it as a snow day. Oh, look, I'm off for 2 or 3 days. Nobody could have predicted that it turned out as it has. And many schools are still doing are now doing online courses, so they're kind of in school. I'll put that in quotes. But there is some anxiety now because now they're getting cabin fever. Now they're worried about what's going to happen. And now you're talking about seniors who will not have a prom. You're talking about seniors who will not walk at graduation. You're talking about middle school kids who don't know, am I going to the high school after the 8th grade? So there's a lot of uncertainty, and that has started some anxiety. But a lot of the anxiety is because a lot of the parents, and who can blame them, don't know how to assist their kids academically. Now, I own a tutoring business, and I've been a teacher for over 30 years, and I could help a 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th grader or any grade in English, maybe social studies. But when my son years ago brought me home his 4th grade math homework, I was lost. I thought he brought home the wrong assignment. I didn't understand what was going on. So, and I'm an educator, so they don't know how to help their children study, how to do time management. That's where I come in. So now we're starting with next week. I think it's on the 20th is our first one. We're going to start doing webinars for parents on study skills, on time management, on note-taking, on how to do recall better. Because you really have, everybody's being homeschooled now and people aren't really prepped for it. So there is some anxiety there, and there are answers out there. There are ways people can read books together. My book is, what I love about it is that teens and parents can read this book, and for when it was in school, it does have a Common Core line study guide. But for parents and younger students, their children, to read the same book together, that's a great thing. That's like when you watch a TV show that you all enjoy. That's a commonality you can have. So there's ways of helping the parents assist their children better, and it's very stressful. But there is help out there, and so that's why I started to put together now more online courses than just private sessions and things of that nature.
Yeah. Mark, a lot of teachers actually that I've spoken to have said that the programs that they have to work with are very difficult. And as a result of that, they are not doing what they're supposed to do, and they know they have to hand in to the principals the curriculums and things of that nature. But are the students really learning at this point? Because, as I said before, teachers have to be up to snuff with regard to the computer, and they're not.
Well, you make an excellent point, Susan, because this came out of left field, so there was very little warning. So, for example, I use an online platform. Now, I can use this online platform in my sleep. At 3 in the morning, if you call me, I can tell you what page to go to, how to answer it, what to circle. It's all interactive. But that was 10, 20, 30 lessons into it. Nobody said to me, start tutoring tomorrow on this platform. I wouldn't know where to begin. There was no training. So, I do a different platform, but I've done Zoom and I've done global meeting, and as long as you get used to it, you can deliver the lessons. So are students learning? Yes. Are they learning at an optimum level? No, but I can't blame the teachers for that, because if I'm an expert in math, it doesn't mean I'm an expert on delivering that lesson on a whiteboard. It doesn't mean I'm an expert on teaching a class who, kids have logged in at 9 a.m. from a computer, because then there's also a kid who will have a question, Mr. Jones, I can't log on. What's the password? These questions don't exist in the classroom. So now you're asking people to be even more tech savvy, which is okay had you given them a week's worth of PD, professional development. So there is learning taking place, but it's not optimal. It's better than nothing, but we're going to have to learn from this, because even when we go back to life, it's going to be the new normal. We're never going to see what we saw 2 months ago. Those days of that type of school, of big events and things like that, and going to restaurants, it's going to happen again, but it's going to take on a very different look. And I've always believed that education is the key to everything, but I'm not, and I own a tutoring agency, I'm not just all about academic education. I'm about character education. I'm about proper parenting. I have people in my arsenal, we'll call them, who are experts in anti-bullying. I have people who are, as am I, a certified life coach, but people who can really assist you in making things better. You have to know where to go, and nobody can do this alone. I've added some things to my online repertoire because demand has changed. So, you have to meet life at the reality, and that's what we're a little behind the curve on.
Yeah. Parents, I've been told by teachers who said that they get in touch with the families because they want the families to participate in all these programs that the teachers are offering, and yet when they call them, they don't. The parents don't call back. We live in a society today where people are so busy and doing so much, and in this pandemic, and they're not doing it what they used to do, but they're also not helping their kids. Is this true? I mean, because again, I've been hearing this from a lot of teachers that the parents just don't get involved. Is this happening, Mark?
I have to tell you that unfortunately it's happening, and it's very troublesome, because it's not because of bad parenting, it's because of lack of information and lack of a skill set. For example, if I said to the average parent, how long should your son study? 2 hours a day. What should that look like? What do you mean, what does that look like? Well, should he study from 10 to 12, from 2 to 4? When I do my parent webinars, I tell them 20 minutes to half an hour tops at a time. After that, even a sponge has to be wrung out once in a while. So the brain needs a break, and the break can't be where you were studying. Your brain has to think, I'm on a break. You have to get up and leave the studying area. I tell parents about proper lighting. I tell parents that their students shouldn't do the homework in bed because it makes them comfortable and tired. I tell them that the chair has to be okay what they study in, but don't have them do work in a recliner. These things are not obvious. When I tell it to them and explain why, it seems obvious, but it's lack of, look, these people still have to make money. They still have to pay the bills and mortgage. They have to put money away for college. So they weren't meant to be the teachers, but I will tell you, I have no answer for the next part. I cannot tell you how many people I'm tutoring privately who, when I text a parent, I don't get a text back. 3 texts, an email, a call. I mean, and I put this annotation. I say to the parent, I'm not just about take the money and run. I'm about how can we work together to help your child. But if I contact you on 10 different occasions and I get one answer, it's not a good fit for my company. Six times in the last 2 months. It's mind-boggling to me. but I think that I think parents are intimidated. This is not their wheelhouse. Just like the job and the business that their parents are in is not my wheelhouse. But we have to educate all parents, children, students, teachers, administrators, because we're not doing the job I think we can do, or we're not doing the job I know we can do.
Yeah. Another thing, Mark, is that when you, when you think about the fact that this is such a new thing, this pandemic, and it's so serious, and so, it sort of enables, in a sense, people to try to get on the computer and to learn. Learning is so important, and unfortunately, we're at a standstill. So if you had a chance to, at this point, to tell people, if God forbid something like this happens again, how do they prepare themselves?
Well, it has to be sectioned off by what audience you're talking about. There's a way for.
I'm talking about the parents. I'm talking about the teachers, the principals.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say.
People who are involved.
Okay. Right. So all those things take on a different look. For example, districts have to know in advance when this happens. If there's 4 snow days, here's the packet we have ready to go. If there's a bad prediction, here is the platform we're going to use if this happens again. And you're all going to be experts on this because we're going to give you teachers professional development, and we're going to do mock lessons after school. We're all going to go in our classrooms from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and we're going to have experts from these different technology companies, be it Global Meetings, Zoom, Google Hangouts. We're going to have experts teach you how to deliver a lesson. You're experts in your content area. Now we're going to teach you how to be experts in delivering that content area virtually. When it comes to parents, they have to be told, they have to have articles ready for them. This is how you should time your child. This is how to do time management. These are some study skills worksheets you can do, and pamphlets on how to organize your child better for success. So all these things have to be thought out and planned as if when they go back to school over the summer in August, these districts have to pretend that when September hits, another pandemic's going to hit. And I pray to God that we never see another pandemic. But if we do, it should be opening a drawer and taking out the information, and you should be able to hit the ground running, because you have to prepare. And and people always say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. An old saying, but a true maxim nonetheless. So we know now, we've learned what our shortcomings are, and we've rushed to get up to where we need to be. But we don't have to rush now. We can plan it out and say, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. I mean, from the school district I taught at for many, many years, I was in that district for 25 years, 78% of the students were on free and reduced lunch. If you donated, if Bill Gates donated laptops to all these kids, what does that matter? They don't have the internet.
Right.
So what are you doing? If you had a booklet for each teacher, here's a booklet that's good for 20 school days of lessons. So if something happens, we hand this to you, or you pick it up at a location, and boom, you have 20 days of lessons. And then you call in this number because they have phones. There's so many things you can do. And this is not just 20/20 hindsight. I've thought of some of these things before. Quite honestly, I've thought of them now after the pandemic, obviously. But we've learned from this. We learned that we weren't ready. Okay, that's what you learned. What are you going to do about it? Now you need an action plan.
Great words, Mark. Fantastic. But what new programs and workshops are you working on today? Because obviously there's so much work that has to be done to really get our kids educated the way we want.
Right. So we always have the private and small group tutoring and classes. Now we've definitely launched, we have 2 classes in April, one for the ACT, one for the SAT, that will hopefully be in June. Even if that's canceled, there are summer tests. So we've greatly expanded our online classes where you don't have to worry about getting sick next to somebody. It's the same great instructors. It's live online. So we have that. We're definitely starting a lot more webinars for students and parents that are non-academic in nature, which might be power memorization. They might consider that academic, but definitely not content specific, and organizing and how to motivate your child to succeed in school, and anti-bullying seminars for teachers and administrators. So we're really going virtual, and all these things that I've been doing and my company has been doing in the school setting live anyway. Now it's still live, but it's live online. I've expanded my 1-minute educator video program, which we're going to start. Usually it was just the people who were part of the Great Success family and got tutoring from us. But now we're going to start offering that to the public, which is probably over 110 1-minute videos. 1-minute videos on grammar, pronouns, parallelism, subject-verb agreement, 1-minute videos on math, 1-minute videos on anti-bullying, 1-minute videos on speed reading techniques. And I offer a speed reading course, which is now going to be offered online also, live. Quite honestly, we are also going to be offering the speed reading course, which is a 4-hour course, 4 weeks, and that's offered online too soon. So we're really expanding our virtual offerings.
You sure are. You know, that reminds me, and this is the last question that I have for you, because, you know, we really are at the end of our show, and, you know, you're an amazing person. You're a great entrepreneur, Mark, and you're also a great teacher, and people have a lot to learn from you. But I'm just curious about this. I heard a story the other day that people in assisted living, I mean, we're talking about apples and oranges because you work with kids, but this is a kind of interesting idea, and that is because older people are separated from everybody else and they're put into their own rooms, and depression and anxiety kicks in, and what also happens is that they're isolated. So what they're doing today is they're putting together virtual reality, equipment that teaches things. For example, if you've never been to a place like outside, like Europe or Africa or places of that nature, it actually shows you and it gives you a tour through those places so that you feel like you're kind of there. And it also shows all kinds of historical events. It kind of even brings in a little bit of television shows and movies that help people to learn. What would you do, and could you do this? Could you get a corporation, or can companies or schools rather, get corporations to sponsor virtual reality for your kids because they'll get a chance to learn? What do you think about that, Mark?
Well, first of all, it's a great question. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have to do that because I think Illinois and New York has already announced that federal funds for next year are cut. All that money had to be diverted to the COVID-19 pandemic. So corporations are going to be the ones who are going to save the day now. By corporations, I mean business corporations, sports teams. Sports is a business. And people who hopefully have money, and once the seasons come back, will have money again. A lot of teams already do nice community outreach, but this will take it to the next level. So virtual is the way to go. Everybody who is lucky enough to be working is, most of them are working from home. But corporations and funding places that can fund this really are going to have to step up to the plate because they can change lives. And quite honestly, you get it back tenfold because when you train people who have great academic skills, great social skills, great character education, you're going to get a better worker in your workforce. You're going to get better employees. So this is the wave of the future, and things will never look as they did before. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to grow from this and become much better, much faster than would have happened had we not had this. It's a terrible shame that so many people had to get sick and many lives were lost, but we are going to be resilient and bounce back. And we're all, corporations, families, school districts, we are all going to have to work together to make the schools and the workplace more effective and more successful. Has to be.
Well, my guest today has been Marc Hoberman, who's an entrepreneur who makes available speaking events, school and camp training, corporate training, co-authoring, and he's the best-selling author of a book that is really something that everybody needs to buy. So, Marc, tell us how you get the book and how they get in touch with you and how they can participate in your programs?
Sure. So Adversity Defeated, Turn Your Struggles into Strengths is available on Amazon. I'm happy to say that it's going to be re-released. It's available now, but it is again going to be re-released probably in September from LaRue Press from Las Vegas, Nevada. So they've picked that up, and that's available on Amazon.com. It's available on Kindle. It's also available as an audiobook through Audible and Amazon. So there is an audiobook version as well. And for schools that are interested, there is a Common Core line curriculum that goes along with that. The best websites would be gradesuccess.com, GradeSuccess.com. That's the tutoring agency, the education site. My speaking site and other training is marchoberman.com, MarcHoberman.com. I want to throw one new thing in there, which is teamleaderacademy.com, TeamLeaderAcademy, teamleaderacademy.com. That's something I'm partnering with a friend of mine who's running tremendous courses on business and entrepreneurship for teens. And all kinds of, it's all virtual. It's very powerful. If they take a look at that site, I think they'll be very, very impressed. So we're all doing very new things, and love to hear from your listeners as always. They've always been very, very forthcoming with outreach after any of these podcasts air, and I thank you for that, Susan. So looking forward to more things, but there's a lot of offerings there. They'll find our email addresses on those sites. Happy to answer questions and work with anyone who's interested in our services.
Well, thank you very much, Marc Hoberman, for being on the Susan Brender Show. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.